We are going to learn four major ratios that is the key to mortgage finance. They are A. Installment to income ratio or IIR. B. Fixed obligation to income ratio or FOIR. C. Loan to cost ratio or LCR or loan to value or LTV. And finally, D. Calculation of loan eligibility. The first ratio is called installment to income ratio or IIR. Before we do the calculation, let me share an interesting example of house rent allowance HRA calculation of government employees. Probably, it will give an insight as to how ratios would have evolved in mortgage finance for calculating loan eligibility. The government compensates its employees for living in rented accommodation based on the income level and category of the city in terms of population. The HRA as percentage of basic pay as per 7th Pay Commission is paid at the rate of 30% of the basic pay for Class X cities, 20% for Class Y cities, and 10% for Class Z cities. A city with a population of 50 lakh and more qualifies as a Class X city, while cities with a population of 5 lakh to 50 lakh are considered as Class Y cities, and those with populations under 5 lakh are regarded as Class Z cities. Based on the recommendation of Pay Commission, the amount of HRA keeps changing as it is linked to dearness allowance. Dearness allowance keeps changing as it has close relevance to the consumer price index and other economic factors worked out over previous 12 months. So, HRA offered by the government is a good indicator of the amount of money one could spend on taking a house on rent in various cities, and it can be close to the payment of monthly installments of home loan for owning a property. We are going to look at the first ratio, that is, installment to income ratio or IIR. IIR is calculated by dividing the equated monthly installment for the proposed home loan as a proportion to gross income. It gives a measure of what percentage of gross income constitutes the proposed home loan installment and whether the customer can sustain repaying the installment considering the other fixed and variable expenses of the family as evaluated during the appraisal process. Let us look at an example. Let us calculate the installment to income ratio for Prakash. Please observe the salary slip and look at the breakdown of salary. You should work out on your calculator to reconfirm the total gross and total deductions and net salary. You would observe that in addition to statutory deductions like PT and PF, Prakash has also taken a vehicle loan from employer and still 20 months of installment is pending. The customer is looking for a loan of Rs 5 lakhs for tenure of 15 years at 10.5%, and the monthly installment works out to be Rs 1,105 per lakh. So, for a loan of Rs 5 lakhs, the EMI will work out to Rs 5,525. The calculation has been worked out for you here. Some of you would be keen to learn the formula to calculate EMI. We will learn as we go ahead in the session. Based on the calculation, the IIR works out to 49%. This means the customer is left with only 51% to take care of repayment of other loan installments and monthly family expenses. Well, if you compare with the HRA of a government servant, even in a town with population of more than 50 lakhs, it is way above that. From this case, you will find two major learnings. They are 1. IIR as a ratio is giving a sense as to how much Prakash is leveraging his income, taking into consideration only the proposed loan installment as a percentage of gross salary. 2. The IIR is not a comprehensive ratio to see the impact of all the loans as percentage of gross income or the net income in the hands of the borrower to run his personal and family expenses for a month. So, To have a comprehensive view of how much the customer is leveraging his income, we should include other long-term loans. To understand that, we'll look at the next ratio, that is, fixed obligation to income ratio or FOIR. As you can see now, FOIR as a ratio is calculated as proposed installment plus existing obligation divided by gross income. Now, you can see that it is comprehensive ratio giving a complete view of how much the customer is leveraging his or her income to avail a home loan. Normally, loans taken for more than 12 months are identified as long-term loans. So, any loans with outstanding monthly installments of more than 12 months are considered as obligation while calculating FOIR. Let us understand with an example. Here is the salary of Prakash to calculate FOIR. We already know that a loan of Rs 5 lakh for tenure of 15 years at 10.5%, the EMI will work out to Rs 5,525. The calculation has been worked out for you here. You should note that while calculating FOIR, we have considered the monthly installment of Rs 1,750 towards vehicle loan as existing obligation as the outstanding installments are more than 12 months. As per the details given, Prakash has to still repay 20 installments out of 36 months towards the repayment of the loan. Based on the calculation, the FOIR works out to 64%. This means that the customer is left with only 36% to fend for his monthly family expenses. Now, it looks like Prakash may get into financial trouble. We should counsel him either to take a smaller loan amount or increase the tenure to 20, 25 or 30 years based on his age. This will bring down the EMI of the customer and eventually FOIR. Let us calculate his EMI by increasing his tenure. 1. If the tenure is 20 years, the EMI per lakh would be Rs 998. And the EMI on Rs 5 lakh works out to Rs 4,990. And FOIR works out to 59.6%. 2. If the tenure is 25 years, the EMI per lakh would be Rs 944. And the EMI on Rs 5 lakhs works out to Rs 4,720. And FOIR works out to 57.2%. 3. If the tenure is 30 years, the EMI per lakh would be Rs 915. And the EMI on Rs 5 lakhs works out to Rs 4,575. And FOIR works out to 55.9%. You can see that even after giving maximum tenure of 30 years, we find that Prakash is leveraging his salary income to the extent of 55.9%. In case of unforeseen circumstances like hospitalization of self or family, Prakash may land into financial trouble. It is not good for him. At the same time, after repayment of vehicle loan in next 20 months, or if he has savings to repay the vehicle loan, his FOIR will come down to 49% as calculated in IIR. This looks good, provided he does not take any further loans. One can also argue that his income may go up by 5 to 7% every year, which can support him. Further, we can also add his other income like interest from fixed deposit, rent income, dividend income, agriculture income, if any, to the salary income. In such a situation, the entire scenario changes for Prakash in terms of IIR and FOIR. Further, if Prakash is income tax payee, he will also get deduction on repayment of home loan interest and principal repayment as per the IT Act, giving further cushion in terms of surplus income in hand to manage family expenses. Some of you may be wondering about the norms for adding additional income. We will learn about it in our credit appraisal module for affluent and affordable segment. So, What did we learn in FOIR? 1. FOIR as a ratio is giving a sense as to how much Prakash is leveraging his income, taking into consideration the existing loan installment plus proposed loan installment as a percentage of gross salary. 2. FOIR is a comprehensive ratio to see the impact of all the loans as percentage of gross income or the net income. This gives a clear view of money in the hands of the borrower to run his personal and family expenses for a month. In this case, Prakash's wife Aarti is also working. She is earning a gross income of Rs 21,000. She does not have any other loans. In this scenario, based on the combined income of husband and wife, the FOIR works out to only 22.52%. Now, this gives a sense of comfort as the family as a unit may be able to sail through on the financial front even in adverse situation. This brings us to an important discussion about IIR and FOIR as recap of our understanding. Let me pose the first question. Is IIR relevant? Well, each of the ratios gives different insights. IIR as ratio gives a view of the extent to which the borrower is leveraging his income to repay the installments on the proposed loan amount without taking into consideration other loan installments. This brings us to the second question as to when will IIR and FOIR be the same. We saw that in case of Prakash, when there is no other loans or obligations, IIR and FOIR will be the same. Now, let us calculate loan eligibility with assistance of EMI chart for various loan tenure and rate of interest. The formula for calculating loan amount is given here. It is maximum EMI payable divided by EMI per lakh. One must browse through the top line to look at ROI and look at the first column showing the term to find out the EMI per lakh. Now, there are multiple mobile applications giving you information about the EMI per lakh. You can download one of the EMI calculators for your convenience, as it would be cumbersome to calculate EMI per lakh factor manually or with a simple calculator. Let us approach step by step to understand how this works. Here is a case of Mr. Tarun Lal, a home loan borrower having a salary income of Rs 65,000 per month. He is looking for maximum loan amount for tenure of 20 years. He has also taken a car loan on which he has to pay a monthly installment of Rs 17,500 for the next 42 months. He has approached New Bank for availing a home loan. As per the credit policy of New Bank, the maximum FOIR that can be given on Tarun Lal's income will be 50% of gross salary. The prevailing rate of interest offered by New Bank is 9% for loans with tenure of 20 years. Let us find out the maximum proposed EMI and then the maximum loan amount that Tarun can avail for a tenure of 20 years at a ROI of 9%. Here is your formula for FOIR. The maximum that Tarun can pay is sum of proposed EMI plus existing EMI divided by gross salary. So, FOIR multiplied by gross salary is equal to proposed EMI plus existing EMI. If you do cross multiplication, 50% of 65,000 is equal to maximum proposed EMI plus existing EMI of Rs 17,500. So proposed EMI is equal to 32,500 minus 17,500, that is 17,000. From EMI per lakh table, we know that the EMI is Rs 900 per lakh for a tenure of 20 years at ROI of 9%. That is, if Rs 900 is the EMI for Rs 1 lakh, then for EMI of Rs 17,000, the loan amount works out to Rs 18,88,888. In the next segment, we'll learn about mortgage ratios applicable on property value to calculate loan eligibility. The next mortgage ratio is based on the cost of property as per agreement or market valuation as per the technical appraisal. You need to have a brief background about the practice in the industry and present scenario. For many years, mortgage finance institutions were working only on loan-to-cost ratio or LCR. That is, the loan amount divided by the cost of property stated in sale deed or agreement for sale to understand how much we are leveraging the property value at the time of giving a loan. Today, the sale value mentioned in the agreements is more to match the circle rates announced by the government for collecting stamp duty, and so it may not be the actual transaction value between the buyer and seller. In the last few years, the property prices have also been moving upward, creating a ripple in the economy. Normally, people think that property prices only appreciate. Well, this may not always be true. There is always a gap between seller's expectation and buyer's desire to pay. The negotiated price between the willing seller and buyer is all about the market valuation of the property. Also, we need to keep in mind that we may end up selling a repossessed property in case of customer default at a distressed sale value. It is important that we do not leverage the property value beyond a point while calculating a loan. One also needs to remember the outstanding amount of a defaulting home loan borrower tagged as non-performing asset would include the overdue EMI, interest, and legal charges for recovery of the money. So, it is all the more important that we should leverage the property value, keeping in mind whether there is a sufficient cushion to take care of downfall in property prices and outstanding loan amount plus charges from the sale value. In the past and even today, a few HFCs and banks are struggling with their repossessed property to sell at the market value to cover the outstanding amount. To safeguard the interest of a mortgage finance institution, we calculate the loan to market value or LTV. It is worked out as loan amount divided by current market value, which is a true reflection of the current market price at the time of technical appraisal of the loan. However, sometimes even market value of the property can be inflated. To overcome all the inherent risk of the lending business, as a good practice, mortgage finance institutions work out both the ratios, that is, LCR and LTV. They compare both the ratios and pick lower of the two as a prudent approach. Well, again you may face two scenarios. In the first scenario, if the sale deed value is higher than the market value, then market value is taken into consideration as it is considered to be a true reflection of the transaction between seller and buyer. In the second scenario, if the market value is higher than the sale deed value, then mortgage finance institutions takes a prudent stand by extending a loan on market value with a rider stating that the maximum loan amount cannot be more than 100% of the sale deed value. This ensures that we do not give loans on inflated property prices propped up by sellers, which may not be sustainable or true reflection of prevailing market prices. Now, let us look at the directives of RBI on LTV. Looking at the market practices, the regulatory body, that is the RBI and the NHB, came out with a circular dated 8th and 9th October 2015 respectively on LTV norms based on the loan amount being extended as credit. As it is displayed here, it says that up to loan amount of Rs 30 lakh, the maximum LTV shall be 90%. For loan amount of Rs 30.01 lakh to Rs 75 lakh, the maximum LTV can be 80%, and for loan amount beyond 75 lakh, the maximum LTV can be 75%. You can understand that as the loan amount goes up, the regulator expects the borrower to invest a larger amount of own contribution for purchase of the property. It is always seen that whenever the customer invests large amount of own contribution for purchase of property, the interest to retain the property and pay the installments has been relatively high. This also gives enough indication that the regulator wants to ensure that mortgage financial institutions should not get stuck with illiquid property in the high-priced property segment. This will also help to taper down the constant increase of property prices impacting the economy. It has been observed that professionals working in the industry mistake the LTV norms on loan amount to property value, thereby reducing the loan eligibility. Let us do a reverse calculation to find the maximum property value for the first two slabs. The calculation of the property value in the first slab would be 30 lakhs divided by 90%. So, if you want to give a loan of Rs 30 lakhs, then the maximum property value would be 33.33 lakhs. Similarly, in the second slab, the maximum property value would be Rs 93 lakhs 75,000. In addition to the LTV norms, the regulator also specified norms for the component of property cost that can be considered for all home loan products, including plot loan. Usually, the components of plot cost include the plot value stated in the agreement, stamp duty, registration charges, and documentation charges to execute the agreement. It has been observed that sometimes the total cost of the plot far exceeds the bare value stated in the agreement. As a result of that, even at an LTV of 75 to 90%, the lenders sometimes end up giving more than 100% of the property cost. Let me show you an example. In this case, the plot cost is Rs 80. The stamp duty is Rs 8. The registration charges is Rs 5. The documentation charges is Rs 7. The total cost works out to Rs 100. Even if we consider an average LTV of 85% of total plot cost, the loan amount works out to Rs 85. Now, loan amount of Rs 85 as percentage of plot cost of Rs 80 works out to 106% of the plot cost. This seemed to be an anomaly from a regulatory perspective. So, the regulator consented that for small customers looking for a plot or house costing not more than Rs 10 lakhs, all the components of the transaction, that is plot cost, stamp duty, registration charges plus documentation charges, can be considered as per the LTV norms stated by them. But if the plot or property value is more than Rs 10 lakhs, then only the plot or property cost can be considered for calculating LTV. Let us do an activity to understand the components of LTV and LCR to be considered in a home loan transaction. Here is a case of Prakash looking for a loan amount of Rs 5,25,000 for purchase of a property that costs Rs 5,52,000. However, based on market valuation, the property cost works out to Rs 4,85,000. Let us work out the loan to cost ratio LCR and loan to value LTV. As per the regulatory norms, since the property cost is less than Rs 10 lakh, we can add all the components stated here. First, let us calculate LCR based on cost of property. The formula for LCR would be loan amount divided by cost of property. In this example, it would be Rs 5,25,000 divided by Rs 5,52,000. The LCR works out to 95%. As per the regulatory norms, this must be capped at 90%. So, the maximum loan amount that can be given would be 90% of 5,52,000. This works out to Rs 4,96,800. Now, let us work out the loan amount based on market valuation. The formula for market valuation is loan amount requested divided by market valuation. The loan amount that can be given would be Rs 5,25,000 divided by Rs 4,85,000. The LTV works out to 108%. As per the regulatory norms, this must be capped at 90%. So, the maximum loan amount that can be given would be 90% of 4,85,000. This works out to Rs 4,36,500. Now we need to compare the loan amount based on LCR and LTV and opt for lower of the two. As a prudent practice, mortgage finance institution will offer lower of the two loan amount worked out, that is, rupees 4,36,500 based on market valuation of the property. Now, you should be able to calculate LTV based on cost of property and based on market valuation on your own.
Hey learners! There is special campaign going on our VirtuoSkill platform. Mission possible on the 78th year of independence. VirtuoSkill, India's first online digital learning platform offering certified mortgage professional. Program has taken the mandate to certify 78,000 youths passing out from colleges and working professionals in India for the housing sector on our digital learning platform. The first step in this journey is to give free access to our most important module on Basics of Mortgage Finance course for a period of 30 days. On completion of the course you can earn a certificate absolutely free that can be added to your profile. For more details check the description below.